Namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another session of Ayush Talks from the Center for Ayurveda Studies. So today's session will feature Jayagopal Parla. He is the director of the Athreya Ayurvedic Integrative Health Center in Long Beach, California. He's the vice president of Athreya Herbs, and he's clinician and faculty at the Southern California University of Health Sciences. So Parlaji is also an internationally known speaker, educator, and practitioner of Ayurvedic medicine and yoga with extensive clinical and teaching experience. He is a faculty member at various Ayurvedic institutions in the US and serves as visiting faculty member at the Japan School of Ayurvedic Medicine. He is passionate about inspiring and empowering individuals, families, and communities to live long, healthy lives. He believes that healing is complete only when an individual is positively motivated to make healthy choices and aspires to thrive in life. So this presentation will aim to highlight the principles of Ayurvedic nutrition and meal planning that guides individuals, families, communities towards precision diet. So Dr. Vaidya, would you like to join the session, please?
Namaste, and thank you for the introduction.
Thank you so much for being a part of Ayush Talks. So I'm going to hand over the session to you now, and I'll see all of you towards the end when we open for questions. Thank you.
Please let me know if you are able to see my presentation here.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
So I would love to start with a chanting, and then we'll continue with the presentation. Let's invite healing into our hearts and set an intention to live a long, healthy life. Om Namami Dhanvantarim Adidevam Surair Vandita Pada Padmam Loke Jararug Bhayam Mrityunasham Dataramisham Vividoshadina Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Thank you very much. This topic is very near and dear to me because in Ayurveda, we say that a disease is only possible when diet is not correct. If the diet is not properly structured or maintained, one would suffer from diseases. And my effort has been that all these years to know and learn about Ayurvedic diet is a lifetime journey, because when you learn Ayurveda, you will not realize that Ayurveda has its own structured nutrition and diet knowledge base. So I'm still learning, because it is such a science that every time there's new doors opening for knowing what diet is. And how to, not only for self health purposes, but also how to structure somebody who is needing help has been another interesting but also empowering journey for me. I'm here to share those experiences and make into a sense what this new term that is now becoming very famous called as precision diet or precision nutrition. And just to let you know, my passion to I'm not a great cook, but my passion to spread the knowledge of Ayurveda. I get together with my students And on every alternate Thursdays, we have this online nutritional meal prep class that we do for anybody, any general public can join. And then we inspire people to, cook for themselves and heal. I say this because when I came to US, I was surprised and beyond astonishment that the kitchens were so clean in every house I went to. And then I thought that they would keep their houses really clean. And then I saw what happens in the kitchen. Nobody ever cooks in the kitchen. And it's only food that comes from outside and that's heated up in a microwave, and then they eat. And there is no need to clean any turmeric stains on the kitchen cabinets or anything, because nobody cooks. So this humble effort from me and my students is to inspire people to heal for them. I mean, cook for themselves and heal themselves and empower with the knowledge. And this is what Ayurveda brings about, is this, a deep connection to food and how food can create a healthy human being. So having said that small introduction, so let's jump into the next slide here. So in the next slide here, I am going to, talk about one thing, that is, how many of us know from our childhood memory, and even not even childhood memory, I would say even during our early adulthood, we would have seen this pyramid. And even it is used nowadays. If you go to some, primary healthcare centers in India, you do see this health pyramid, which is on the wall of the primary healthcare center. So what is it? It is how to eat. And then it's based out of, in 1970s, Sweden was going through a major economical crisis. In order to make sure that people eat necessary things, they made this food, pyramid. And then later, US adopted this and then called it as the food pyramid. And I put down a great, dome for it, or the burial stone on it, because it's now obsolete. Nobody uses it, right? So in the last, from 1992 onwards to 2005, the pyramid was used. And now they have, from 2005 to 2012, they had eating right pyramid. And then that did not fit all the health needs. And then now we have what is called as my plate. I'll get into my plate in a minute, but what I'm saying is, even though this effort of food pyramid was given, how much protein, how much carbohydrates, how much vegetables, how much of the vitamins should be eaten on a daily basis, the quantification of the food is not the way that people understand. Even if I ask anyone, do you eat according to food pyramid or my food pyramid, or even my plate, people do not relate to it. That's the shortcoming of these over ambitious diet guidelines that we have. So that's the first one that I wanted to tell you, that diet guidelines have been significantly changing. So here is the My Plate, is the current nutrition guideline published by the United States Department of Agriculture and then Center for Nutrition Policy. So it says here, instead of going with the pyramid, it has a plate size, how much one should serve to have daily requirement of essential nutrients. So there's protein, there's vegetables there, but only thing that it has changed is from the triangle, it has become a plate, as what do you call, as a sphere or a pie, and then they have cut pieces of it and that's how it looks. So this again, if somebody asks me, is there a way to know whether if you're eating according to food plate? I don't see, and being a practitioner here in the US, I don't see anybody tells me, oh, I follow the my plate very strictly. I have not come across anyone saying that. So again, there is no major follow through by people or relation to this type of diet. And then now comes the slide which you're seeing right in front, which is the trends, the health diet trends. When I came to this country first in 2000, I saw that New York Times bestseller book that was presented to me after a talk at a school was Atkins Diet. And I just went through this book. And those of you who know Atkins Diet, again, Atkins Diet is now, I don't think anybody is following that in a larger numbers, but it used to be New York Times bestseller. So what I surprise and I tell you is that in New York Times bestsellers, there is every maybe 4 to 6 months a diet new, a book that is based on the new diet that becomes a New York Times bestseller. So we have Omni Diet, we have, as I said, Atkins Diet, the South Beach Diet. If you open the Google and search for New York Times bestseller diets, you will find, I think, at least about 30 of these books that are, so like bone broth diet, somebody is suggesting, so just eat bone broth for, lose 15 pounds and 4 inches in 21 days. All these, diet plans are, and don't take me wrong, they are meaning health, but short-term going towards a precise goal of 20, losing, weight, mostly promoting losing weight in 21 days or, maybe in a month or something like that. Same in the next slide too here, eat fat, get thin, reset diet, keto diet, and paleo diet. These are all people eat like this. And this trend is spreading to all parts of the globe. It's not just in US, but you will also see it in other parts of the world where people are becoming more and more, enticed with these types of diet written by famous, doctors and physicians who suggest these diets, and they with a specific purpose. Okay, so. What I also want to stress upon is that these are mostly short-term, diet plans. So when we say short-term diet plans, they don't look at life as a whole. They are coming in as a crisis diet. And one takes up this diet and feels great for maybe 2 months, 5 months, 6 months. And then it is so impractical to follow and hold on to it that they will give up. And then, almost like diet surfing, they keep surfing from another, diet, one diet to another diet. That's what is the diet trends for people to, follow. But the point I want to say is, in Ayurveda, diet is geared towards longevity, right? We are looking at, this Shatamanam Bhavati. So this 100 years of living, that's what the diet is geared towards. That's what I insist. That's the, slow and ongoing learning process that one has to start doing as early as they can, learn about their gut and their, mindset and their climatic conditions. So all of this will slowly make an individual, which is now like the precision, that what works for them, what works for me, is a learning process that is slowly over decades. You learn that, okay, my diet this way is what is going to promote my health and then bring me to a long, healthy life. Right. So that's where Ayurveda comes from, where I think Ayurveda has superiority because it's not a quick fix. Okay. So it's education based and a learning process that one has to, it's almost like sometimes experimenting what works for myself, or sometimes it is taking the information from the classical textbooks and observing for myself, being in a different land and different region than India, whether those principles still hold good for me. So it's a process of learning. So we'll get to that as we continue through this presentation. So next one is here. So you may know this, and it's a very common quote. So Hippocrates, when he, the father of modern medicine, he said that let food be thy medicine and let thy medicine be thy food, right? So this is a very well-known quote. And then I come across this in most of the nutritional seminars that, diet is important, right? So now the paradigm is this. So here, I'm not talking about other countries. Here in the US, how much do you think is, even in any Western, medical school, the amount of hours spent on learning the diet or nutrition? How many hours, you just mentally, if you think, I was really, when I learned this, when I really went through and confirmed on the website about how many hours do the doctors spend in learning nutrition, is in the next slide. If you see, they spend 23.9 contact hours. That means less than a day, less than 24 hours in the entire curriculum of learning medicine. Our primary care providers will learn 24 hours. I was shocked. And the books which were written with just 24 hours of diet training, maybe these, don't get me wrong, again, these very well-known doctors or physicians have done their own studies in learning and nutrition, but formal education is only 24 hours of medical education. Then recently, Stanford had put down a article saying that medical schools have to teach more nutrition. So here we go, that Ayurveda has the entire Ayurvedic curriculum, I think, will start with Matra Shatiya, Rasavediya, these textbooks talking about taste, their importance, the quantity of eating and its importance, the rules of eating in Vimanasthana. So all this is, making an Ayurvedic practitioner a little more superior or more knowledgeable in their own sense, not in terms of modern nutrition, but in Ayurvedic nutrition, the Ayurvedic practitioner is well informed. That's my humble, consideration here. So then let's get into the topic. I'm talking everything other than this precision nutrition. So what is this new coined term called precision nutrition? This term has been recently becoming quite famous, and then Dr. Christopher Gardner, who is at Stanford University, who is the pioneer in nutrition, he has been very highly promotive of this word called precision nutrition, which means the pursuit to develop more comprehensive and dynamic nutritional recommendations based on shifting, please make a note, shifting interacting parameters of in a person's internal and external environment throughout life. Isn't Ayurveda that science which does it anyway without saying that, giving a fancy word, is what I want to convey to you. So Ayurveda has this body of knowledge that anybody can use and continue to learn throughout their life what is precise for their nutritional needs. So the now comes the precision nutrition plate. So this is what it looks like. So in a plate, there is physical activity, nutrition based on physical activity. Then there is food behavior. What should be one's behavior while consuming food and relation to food. And then the dietary habits. So dietary habits here includes, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack habits. Then on the other side is a little more scientific here, which is a little harder to make out for people, which is nutrigenomics, microbiota, then metabolomics, and then the deep phenotypes or phenotyping. So half of it doesn't make any sense to a common consumer, what these mean. Half of it will make sense, physical activity, food behavior, and then dietary habits. So 50% is usable by a common man who's a common consumer, and 50% or more than 50% has to be guided by a person who has the nutritional information. So that's where it stands now. And then I don't want to get into the details of what nutrigenomics is, microbiota is. We'll all know about it, if you make an effort to learn about it. But my main focus is take these topics or headings and show that Ayurveda has this precision nutrition aspects already well inculcated into diet planning. Okay, so let's see this world map here. Most of you may know what is a blue zone. A blue zone is a region that is discovered by Don Buettner. Don Buettner was a documentary maker who suddenly stumbled upon these regions in the world that are longest living people, like they call them as centurions, the number of centurions who live beyond 100 years, and call them and then label them as blue zones. And these are what you have here: the Okinawa in Japan, then it is Sardinia in Italy, Icaria in Greece, Loma Linda here in the US, and Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. So these have the longest living people. So they did extensive study of what do these people eat so that we can learn. So do they eat low carbs, high protein, low fat, superfoods? They looked at what do they eat to become, long living. Ultimately, the purpose for, from an Ayurvedic point of view, the purpose of healthy diet or diet is to live a long, healthy life. So I got interested to see what do these people eat in order to keep themselves healthy and long living. So let's go one by one quickly. So this is how people in Sardinia eat. They eat in their diet, 47% is grains and 26% is dairy, right? And 1% is vegetables, etc. What is astonishing is 5% of meat, fish, and poultry. Here goes the keto diet out of the window, and also paleo diet, which is out of the window because they are completely meat-based diet, zero carb. Okay, so that's what these diets are. So let's see the next one, which is the Loma Linda, California diet. Here we see that, look at amount of whole grains, the carbohydrate-rich diet, ricer's diet, out of the window. So here 33% vegetables, 27%. So 60% of the diet is plant-based. I mean, not just plant-based, but fruit and vegetable-based, right? So that is another thing that is, very distinct in this type of a blue zone. And then the third one is Nicoya Peninsula, that is in Costa Rica. So here, if you see, the whole foods, dairy make about 50%, and then the vegetables and then fruits make another 20%. And now, one thing that we see is in this diet, added sugar is very high compared to any other blue zone diet. Okay, so I just want you to pay attention to variability in these diets. Okay, so then comes the Okinawan diet, mind blowing. 67% of the diet is just sweet potatoes. And among these among these blue zones, Okinawans have the highest number of centurions or people living 100 years among all the blue zones, right? So they eat nothing but sweet potatoes, and then 12% grain. So let's say 70% of the diet is just, not 70, 80% of the diet is just carbohydrates. So Okinawan diet is also very interesting. And in coming to Ikaria in Greece, here it is all distributed. You'll see meats and fish, up to 11% of meat and fish here, and then you have vegetables 20%. So kind of well distributed in all parts of the pie here. Point here is this: what are they doing, right? They're not following high protein diet. They're not following, low carb diet. They are just taking what the Mother Nature provides them. That is what Ayurveda says too. If I adopt a diet like Okinawans, thinking that, Okinawans are living 100 years, let me eat Okinawan diet, I'll be sick. Because that diet is very, appropriate and suitable for people who live in that region, right? So that's why here we want to promote here in the US. There's a big move for what we used to do in India is going to the weekly markets or daily markets that we used to have. Without storing stuff in the refrigerator, you go buy stuff fresh, and those are called as farm to table concepts. That's becoming expensive lifestyle, but people still want to do it. So which in Ayurveda, in the classical textbook of Ayurveda, this point is highly emphasized, which we say yasya deshasya yo jantuhu tajam tasya aushadam hitam. So whatever food and herbs grow in the region where I am, that environment provides or is best for my gut, for my digestive health, right? And Ayurveda has promoted this, and even a terrace garden or a home garden of growing about 20 to 30% of our own meals or vegetables and fruits is not a far-fetched idea from an Ayurvedic point of view, because you grow and you have complete control over what you are eating, rather than going into that concept of genetically modified stuff and pesticides and in herein. You can get any fruit throughout the year. Like even in other countries where people are becoming more affluent, the society, when it is affluent, it reaches out to food that is, a rare commodity in their view. And then they will, let's say, mango. In India, in US, you can eat mango all year long. You can eat watermelons all year long. Like seasons when I grew up, watermelon was only available in summer season. After that, it was gone. But here in the US, you can get it because you can, import food and then you can have it from all over the world. That's becoming not only a phenomenon in the US, but also other developing and developed countries. So what Ayurveda says is that is not a sustainable plan, not only for the planet, but also for us, because our diet has best is when it is locally sourced. So let's go back now to see how these so-called humble great Himalayan sages or masters or rishis came up with these concepts like, oh, eat locally and all that. What was the idea behind their thought process? So I'll take you through a very quick journey through how Ayurveda was not discovered, but revealed to these great sages. So first thing that they saw is people were suffering from diseases, and life was not evolving to the higher cause. People were falling sick. Say the people were having, in the four goals or four aspects of life: the dharma, the righteous actions; the artha, the achieving one's goals; kama, enjoying them; and then moksha, final purpose of higher dimensions of life, the moksha. So all these four were based on the health. Dharmartha kama mokshanam arogyam moolamuttamam. So arogya, the health, is the one important aspect that is unmistakable for achieving anything in life. And then when the time came to know or to find Ayurveda or to reveal Ayurveda to them was when humans were suffering from diseases. And then they saw that people were suffering from disease because they were not in alignment with the surrounding or the environment, right? So they looked in and then said, what is the relation between a human being and their surrounding? Right? How does the outer factors influence our inner being? Right? So how can we better the relation or sync the relation between the human, the microcosm, and then the larger outer environment, which is the macrocosm. So the very well known concept, yat pinde tad brahmande. So the body is the representation of the universe, and if there is a a uninterrupted conveyor belt that exists between the body and then the environment, that is the food. Right? Food is connecting these two, entities, the macrocosm, the environment where the food is prepared, and then the microcosm, which is the consumer, where the food is utilized. So they went in that, and then they looked in and they said, oh, what we do from birth to death is nothing but a efficient recycling of material. So that's because even bioscience would agree that every cell of my body will be replaced with a new one in about 3.5 to 4 years. It may be nerve cell, it may be bone cell. There's no question that every person will have a new body in about 4 years. And where is this new material coming from? Is basically the food that we eat. And then the point here that I want to bring in is that the food brings in this material to sustain our bodies, which is continuously breaking down, right? So there is this interconnectedness. Everything is connected is the first thought of Ayurvedic great sages or masters, saying that if I have to be healthy, if people have to be healthy, they need to be connected to their surrounding. In precision diet or precision nutrition, that is one important factor: environment that we live in. They think about how do nutrogenomics, that means my diet will influence my gene expression. That is coming from the environment that we live in. So Ayurveda starts with that process first. How am I connected? Am I connected to my universe or my surrounding, my environment that I live in? right? So how do I circulate, or how do I process my nutrition? In Ayurveda, we have, I'll talk to you in a minute, what is healthy diet. I'll go through that, and then how it becomes a precision diet by applying these principles of Ayurveda. That's what this journey is all about in a few slides. So here the point is, we are living organisms that recycle material. That's the first truth that Ayurveda brings in. And then now let me talk about how do we bring in this material. So I have an interesting and a funny input here. So let's say this is a child, and then this child has her mom coming in every day in 7 days, 6 days of the week. She will come in and wake her up in the morning saying, "Good morning, how are you?" with this appearance. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, different Thursday she looks different, Friday she looks different, and Saturday she will look much different. So what happens to the baby who's waking up every day in the morning and sees her mother so different? So finally, I would say it will confuse a person, right? So confusing, this word, I have it on the heading there, we call the Agni, or a personal metabolic ability, or a fingerprint of metabolism that we have. So our metabolism gets confused every day when we eat something different, right? So this is a trend that is happening, I think, not only in the US, but also in India, that people are getting more and more somewhat excited about diets. Like in the morning, you eat, let's say, oh, today I don't have time, so I'll eat some Kellogg's flakes, which are very light, cholesterol less, and then I put some milk on it, cold milk, and then I eat it. That's my first day breakfast. Second day, I think about, oh, today I want to eat idli and chutney and sambar, so I'll go eat idli and sambar. And then next day I think about, oh, let me do a bread and butter and jam and then eat that, so on. I don't want to stress you here what all people eat. So every day in the morning, there is a change in the diet that one is eating. That is somewhat detrimental or personalizing diet, right? Because all these blue zones that I talked about, where longest living people live, they only eat one type of diet, which is what we call as ethnic diet, right? They don't change. They don't change their diet. Breakfast every day is what is available then, right? And then in that region. So let's say fruits are in season, they will eat the fruit that is local, and then so on, so the traditional food that, as South Indians, for example, we are exposed to idli, dosa, and then sometimes like fermented food, basically fermented batter that has been cooked, is very traditional. Recently, you may not know, WHO, World Health Organization, voted idli as one of the most healthiest healthiest breakfasts in the world, right? That we are forgetting, and it seems to be old-fashioned, and we are gravitating towards food that is like, okay, toast and almond butter, which is not very health promoting according to Ayurveda. It rather confuses your metabolic, digestive fire, which we call as Agni. I'll talk about Agni in a minute as well as we go. So what is diet, consuming or eating seen in Ayurveda? Ayurveda promotes the act of eating, not based on just quantity. I'm eating this much of protein, I'm eating this much of carbohydrate, I'm eating this many calories of, let's say, fat. Ayurveda says that people consume food because it's an experience, right? It's an experiential act that everybody looks forward to. Nobody says, oh, I want to eat 15 grams of protein today. No, People may get encouraged in the first 2-3 thoughts of it. They will think, okay, I'm eating this much of protein. But afterwards, it is what you feel about this, right? I have this interesting picture here, right? A cupcake and a taste and a tongue and a little bit, pictographic representation of mind and the soul. So in Ayurveda, food is seen as an experience. Why most diets fail is because they don't address this aspect of food. Because people eat because of feelings. People eat because of their emotions. People eat because of celebration. There are a number of, because people want food to be part of this emotional experience. So Ayurveda first starts saying, Indriya, Indriyartha, right? Mano, Atma. Sannikarshat pravartate. So this process of, passing on this information is very important for from an Ayurvedic point of view. Because if you don't understand this process, that food is a complete mind conscious experience, which all the nutrition is now thinking about, we will fail to achieve a perfect nutrition. Because if you don't bring this emotional aspect or the experiential aspect of diet, then people will get addicted to taste, emotional eating, etc. will become patterns, even though they are eating certain types of defined diet, because you never have addressed your experience, the need for experience of food. Ayurveda says that is number one. When you want to take food, you want to address that. So first, we will say in Ayurveda, eat locally. Second, become very mindful of what you're eating, right? Don't be in the loop of just eating for your tongue. Don't be in the loop for just eating for your anger or agitation or sadness. Don't be that. You are beyond. So mindfulness is a second step in Ayurvedic precision nutrition. Third thing is the role of mind itself. So here I have two examples of what Ayurveda says. One should be Rajas and Tamas Nirmukta. So not direct in this concept, it says Nirmukta, but a person who is humble to themselves, to their bodies, should not have Rajas and Tamas when they are choosing. Charaka says, Ajalpam, Ahasan, Ajalpam, Tanmana Bunjita. So he's saying that one should not have any greed while consuming food. These are rules of consuming, which I also have highlighted in the later part of the presentation. But I'm just jumping ahead and to give you some of these valuable information that are found in Ayurvedic textbooks, which say, what is your state of mind when you're taking food, right? Are you just on a move when you're eating? Are you standing and eating? Or because the food or diet or nutrition is a opportunity to create oneself, right? So it makes it as lack of a better word, holy or divine as possible, right? So Rajas, one should not serve themselves with too much of rajasic food. I hope the group here will understand what rajasic food is. Rajasic food is something that is hyper driving the mind. You don't stop eating, or you serve too much for yourself, and you may waste a lot of food, and you may talk a lot during a rajasic state of eating. Tamasic state is you're just sitting by yourself and you're just over eating one type of diet, just the fat or the meat, you're lacking any variety. So Rajas and Tamas are also state of mind in which you make choices. So Ayurveda comes to the place where you make choices. The choices need to be healthy, and the choices are made according to the state of mind. So first check, the third point is mindfulness and the experience of food. How do we experience the food is to be taken into consideration. Okay, So given those three best principles that Ayurveda has, now we will look into what diet means according to Ayurveda. Ayurveda says the word that is used is ahara, which is commonly seen in most colloquial languages in South India as well as in Hindi. Ahara. This word ahara is seen as something that we consumed with sense organs, not sense organ, sense organs. Sense organ, to be precise, is the tongue, but also the diet experience or food experience or consuming experience should be with all five sense organs. One should smell, one should taste, one should, feel, touch, look, all these as a complete involvement when consuming food. Because distractions, there are studies to show, scientific studies to show, that people who don't eat in a peaceful fashion are prone for obesity. So that's one of the things that have been recently studied. So Ayurveda says one should involve all five sense organs to be present and to be mindful in eating. So includes all eatables and drinkables. But what does the diet do? So diet increases prana in the body, the vitality in the body, which makes a person to live a long, healthy life by nourishing all the tissues and vitalizing them. But also it says that, bala, varna, and, ojas. Ojas is resistance against diseases, one's, physical appearance, and also the strength improves when the food is, properly balanced. So I want to take these two words, ahara, and the next word, which is called patya, which we will talk about what is the difference when ahara becomes patya. Any food that we consume, what we so-called diet, is ahara. Patya is wholesome diet. I'll talk about wholesome diet in the next two slides. But Ayurveda says every disease comes from apatya, or unwholesome diet. So let's see what is patya according to Ayurveda. A food that is digested, assimilated, and eliminated in a timely fashion is only be entitled to be called as wholesome diet, right? So what do we mean here? Everybody thought, oh, you are what you eat. But from Ayurvedic point of view, you are what you poop, or you are what you digest. Because there is a lot of research now to talk about how gut biome is the bowel, and then the microbiota, the bacteria and other organisms that live in our own gut, 1:9 ratio. That's what they exist, and how they influence. So the Ayurveda looks into all three. Digesting, you're not only what you eat, you're what you digest, you assimilate, and you eliminate is what you are. So Ayurveda has paid attention to this. This is coming to one's physiological process. It talks about now the physiology of digestion, how it should be when one is eating with a precision to promote longevity. So then what does the wholesome diet do? So wholesome diet, just diet is ahara, and wholesome diet, the term that we use in Ayurveda is patya. Patya. Pate hitam iti patyam. That means that which is beneficial for all pathways. Any gross pathway or minute microscopic pathways, including like citric acid cycle, Krebs cycle, everything that is nutrients are moving through, if it goes through uninterrupted in the body, that type of a diet is called patya, and it promotes again the prana, ojas, and bala. On the contrary, it says that one who eats unwholesome diet will become susceptible to diseases or aging process. Okay. How does Ayurveda simplify this? It simplifies not by quantity. It doesn't say one should consume this much amount of protein or carbohydrate or so on. So where the food pyramid concept came in. Now, but don't get me wrong, there is an entire chapter for that. It's called Matra Shitiya Adhyaya, Matra Shisyat Ahara Matra, Punaragni Balapekshani. Charaka says that, you need to eat according to your appetite and all that. He never tells what is the quantity of diet to be eaten. Like there is one concept that I just have, struggled to say to my own clients and people. It says 1/3 should be, solid food, 1/3 should be liquid food, and 1/3 should be empty, which is an Ayurvedic thought as well. But how do you subjectively define? I think it's more useful if you define it as something that is useful as, quality. So Ayurveda looks into qualities, like we relate to something like dry chips, dry flakes, dry or light salad, dry, peas, and, goat cheese, because we relate to these qualities. And then Ayurveda says, know the qualities of the food, where it comes down to these three reflections of universe, the wind being the vata, the sun or the heat being pitta, and how they are working through water or humidity or rain being kapha. So it just relates to this, macrocosmic and microcosmic relation by defining the qualities of substance, not the quantity, but quality, without neglecting the quantity. Okay. So that's the much more the core principles of Ayurveda. I don't want to go through all these qualities. If you get a chance, please go through one of the simplest books that would deal about Ayurvedic, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which is the three dosha theory, which will define what one should eat according to their makeup. So the Vata has dry, light, cold, rough, minute, and movable qualities, and one who is predominantly Vata should stay away from these qualities. So again, I'm just skipping through these, quickly, so that we don't have to spend much time on this. I'll go to the principles because I'm almost getting close to my time here. So the Pitta will be seen as something that is unctuous or oily, sharp, hot, light, liquid, and spreading, and fluidity that is seen in Pitta. So I have given some examples in the previous slide that you saw, that there is chilies, there's oil, there is things like mustard greens, etc. Kapha is seen as something that's soft, like bananas. So it will tell a person what qualities exist in a supermarket or in a market that they go in, or in a weekly market, what to choose for their body types as well. So that is even more personalization when we look at a personal basis. So kapha is heavy, cold, soft, soft and slow, stable and thick. So these qualities, and it also goes to an extent when energy or vata is high, pitta is high, kapha is high, so that we can structure our diet. So vata is high between, naturally, because the influence of the universal forces or circadian rhythms, the vata is high between 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. and pitta and kapha, so on. You can look at this biological clock according to the doshas in Ayurveda, that how we structure our breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then comes the locations of Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So in order to know what type of diet will be best suitable for what region of the body is also specified. This is how simple the diet can be, instead of reading through biochemistry or nutritional science. One can easily adopt Ayurvedic principles in order to structure their diet. So Ayurveda also says these energies, when in kapha is dominant in childhood, pitta in middle age, and kapha in vata. So one should know what type of diet choices or qualities they need to avoid, and what to take will be, again, diet. So it goes to finally saying that each person has their own metabolic footprint based on their makeup, which is either body type, vata, or pitta, or kapha. So I may be just rushing through here, but it is possible that anybody can identify their body type by looking at some quizzes, or go to an Ayurvedic practitioner and then know what their body type is. And it is a life, again, a slow process to learn what body type I am, and then structure my diet according to this qualities that I've put together. So this here is the like the essence or the seed of Ayurvedic personalization or precision diet that Charaka has said, Ashta Vida Ahara, Ashta Ahara Vidhi Vishesha Ayatana. So that's what Charaka says, 8 points to be considered when you're taking the diet. He says one should choose food according to the nature of the food article, the Karana culinary process, some yoga food combining. Rashi is amount, how much to combine, how much to eat, region where it is being consumed, Kala, the time when it is consumed, then Upayoga Samstha, the rules of consuming, and then the consumer himself. All 8 factors needs to be considered. Let's quickly go through these 8 points right here. When it comes to precision diet, Ayurveda streamlines it so well. So I have 2 pictures here. One is goat meat, another one is pork chop that is being shown here. Based on the nature of the food, if goat is moving around a lot and pork is sedentary, Ayurveda says goat is light and pork is heavy. And if you look at it, it's not just me saying it or Ayurveda saying it, it is even said in the nutritional evaluation that the amount of calories goat has is 122, whereas pork has 180 calories. And if you look at the cholesterol and then the saturated fat is 2.6% and the 2.6 grams, whereas pork is to 8.2. So what I'm trying to say here is when you choose or when somebody chooses diet according to Ayurveda, they look at what is this food, where is it coming from, what is the behavior of this animal or the plant or whatever. And the notion that Ayurveda is a vegetarian diet or a non-meat diet, I disagree with that, because Ayurveda gives free choice. And it tells that people have to make their choices. And if they are inclined to not eating meat, then it's okay. They don't have to eat meat, but also lists all the qualities of these substances and gives the freedom to choose what diet will be precise. So next process is processing, right? There is an interesting thing. When you boil, when you bake, food has different qualities in it. When you bake, it'll dry. When you boil, it'll become wet. So that has a different impact on the gut. Wrong food combining, which we say one should not combine fish, with dairy products. Again, that is said to be, counterproductive to gut itself, and it works against the one's, digestive process, right? So wrong combining, we see so many wrong combinations in nowadays because of food industry being such a, taste-driven, texture-driven industry, which doesn't know what to combine on what is not combinable. Chocolate, for example, is highly promoted for its dark chocolate nature, which is how much quantity would you eat is another question. Some people, may look at this as, yes, something is good, especially in America, if something is good, more the better. And Ayurveda says, no, you should pay attention to how much quantity one need to eat. That is, again, precise for your body type and the season and the region where you live. And then finally, the region where one lives, Vata is dominant in a region where the desert type of a land, where arid land is Vata dominant, and people who are living in the arid land, like in Southern California, in Loma Linda, where the people who are centurions live, that is one of the blue zones, they eat a lot of vegetables and fruits. It's because it's Vata Desha. It is definitely a lot more drier in nature, so people eat more of these types. So if you look from these zones, blue zones, where people are eating certain way, it's based on somewhat these 8 concepts that Ayurveda has put together, or Charaka has put together, for us to adopt and continue to develop our meal plans. So Kapha is more in the rainy or like in humid land, and in balanced land, or where the seasons are well defined, all 3 doshas are balanced and Pitta is high. So anyway, this is another concept. And time, when to eat and when not to eat, like never eat yogurt is like a thumb rule in Ayurveda. Nobody eats yogurt at night time if they know Ayurveda, because it is considered to be not appropriate for the time, right? So like this, we in the food substance, not only food substance, but also what happens to us after consuming. Does it go through digestion, assimilation, and elimination in a proper fashion is also based on the time of consumption. Rules that have been really big now in the modern nutrition, that one has to have a good surrounding, society and family bonding. Long living people have good bonding with their surrounding, not only with the nature but also with people that they live in with. So how to Charaka says, one should snigdha mashniyat, ushna mashniyat, one should eat warm and moist and should sit in a calm position. All these are important. Not only what you're eating but also how you're eating it plays an important role. And then lastly, the one who is consuming it, what do they get in terms of habituation? What is habituated to me as Indian is different for an Italian. Ayurveda addresses that and then says, whatever you are habituated to will be best suitable for you. So all these 8 concepts are at the core of personalization and precision diet. That's what I wanted to emphasize. Do I have another minute or so, or am I done? Am I overrunning now? Sophia ji, am I?
That's fine. You can go ahead.
That's okay. So I wanted to tell you that in Ayurveda, the boon for Ayurvedic diet to make it precise are the spices and the herbs that we use. And all these long living people have local herbs and spices. And Ayurveda insists upon adding like culinary spices to diet. The king of all of this is the turmeric, which has taken the world by storm, and one of the spices. And there is a lot more to discover in terms of Ayurvedic diet and spice induction into the meal. So it suggests teas to be drunk with to optimize the metabolism or Agni. It also talks about regular elimination by taking herbs like Triphala, which we all know, which is also important for Ayurveda for upper, middle, and lower GI health. So that will be taken care by the herbs. Yoga is very much part of Ayurvedic diet planning. So this is Malasana, which you all know, how one can promote gut health by sitting in Malasana. By bringing all the blood flow to the gut. By sitting this way, blocking all the blood flow to the extremities, the gut health will improve, is being emphasized in Ayurveda. Food that is having all these qualities, whatever quality. Ultimately, Ayurveda says we consume food for emotions, feelings, and qualities. That's what is to be borne in mind as we make precision diet through Ayurveda. So there is pre-meal, Bhojanagre, Sadapatyam, Lavanardraka Bhakshanam. So ginger to be soaked with salt and eaten to optimize pre-meal. And then lunch being the largest meal has been the mantra of Ayurveda to say that one has to eat this way. And then lastly, post-meal, like mouth refreshers, mukwas, what we call, for improving the digestion. So I just briefly, when somebody comes to an Ayurvedic practitioner or Ayurvedic doctor, we are capable of precisely making diet like breakfast menus. This is from my practice. If somebody comes to my practice, this is a patient who's suffering from serious gut issues like ulcerative colitis, and this is how an Ayurvedic diet is planned. So there's breakfast suggestions, how to cook, where to get them. There's lunch suggestions, and there is dinner suggestions that are very precise, chosen according to the imbalance, the region, the person's body type. And then we make such great diets when it comes to Ayurvedic meal planning. And it can be so precise that Ayurveda can be diet for masses because it doesn't require a rocket science to figure it out. It is only what you are capable of knowing in terms of qualities and actions. Thank you so much for your patience listening. And thank you, Sophia ji. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Vaidyaji. That was a really in-depth presentation. Thank you so much. So we already have a few questions. We don't know if we can take all the questions, but we'll try to take as many as possible. Beatrice is asking, thank you for this wonderful presentation. She said, could you elaborate why a the diet is not the best? Because isn't our Agni smarter than this? Since all the toxins are present in food and water, why is it not good to vary our diet? And many doctors in Spain and Italy, where natural foods matter and we still live with the seasons in rural areas, the doctors always recommend to vary what we eat. So your comments on that?
Yeah, vary, yes, but according to what the nature is bringing to us in our diet. So, you can't eat the same throughout the year. That's absolutely true. And your gut microbiota also changes significantly in every season. So the understanding is how the season change. Now, your vegetables that you eat during spring are very different from what you eat in summer and fall. So there is variability, but this variability is repeated year and year again. So if you eat this year, same thing, like you will eat zucchini in the beginning of the spring, the next year the same zucchini repeats, because that is what your nature grows for you when you're in that surrounding. So variability, yes, but there is a limited variability or cyclical variability. That's what I would call. Sophia ji, you're muted.
Sorry. Our next question is from Rohit ji, who's saying, how many meals in a day is appropriate?
2 meal times is what Ayurveda recommends. And there's a common saying that one who eats once is a yogi, and one who eats 2 times is a bogi, and one who eats 3 times is a rogi. So rogi in the sense a diseased person. So 2 times for people who live a mundane life, because their nutritional needs are higher. If you are living in a region where you are mostly less, active, then one major meal and a smaller dinner would be even okay, depending on your physical activity.
Thank you so much. Kayla's asking, can you speak about the effect of nightshades from an Ayurvedic perspective?
Nightshades, from an Ayurvedic perspective, are capable of simultaneously aggravating pitta and vata when they're consumed in excess. Again, the point is they're not bad, but they are when they're consumed in excess. Unfortunately, because of the agricultural industry, we have these grown in excess, and these crops are also much more, disease resistant. So we end up consuming too much of them. So tomatoes throughout the year, eggplant, potatoes, all through the year. When you take them continuously, they seem to cause gut irritation or unsettled gut. Sometimes they increase histamines in the body, where the body is rejecting them, that it doesn't need them in excess. So people who have allergies, it is seen that when they consume too much of these nightshades, will have a higher reaction to environment. So that's what I can say. There's not much of a big research body to support this, but there are now slowly people are saying nightshades can increase inflammatory reactions. That's what it comes to.
Thank you so much. We'll take maybe another question or two. Anjanji is asking, in our food tradition, we eat a mixed diet in the blue zone. It's contrary to this. They are more healthy. Okay, I think she's just asking you to explain about mixed diet, because in their food tradition, they follow one.
Mixed, I did not get when they say mixed diet in terms of like meat, carbohydrates, proteins, and then like that, or what do they mean by mixed diet?
If you can elaborate on your question, Anjanji, we'll ask that question again. Anjuji is asking, a breakfast is treated like king. But you say lunge, so please clarify.
So it depends again on the region. If you are in a region where it is cold, so if you're living in the northern hemisphere of the equator, then your breakfast can be big, because throughout the day your body is exposed to chances of being hypothermic. That means your body temperature needs to be maintained. So you eat a big breakfast so that you can go out in the fields, shovel the snow out, and then you have all that energy to do it. But if you live in the southern or central towards the equator, then you are not eligible to eat a breakfast like a king, because your gut will not be able to process it and then will not be happy. So it depends on where you live and what the environment is.
Thank you so much. We'll take one last question from Aroshika, who's saying, what do you think about following one meal a day as one ages, especially for women?
One meal a day can be once you reach, let's say, 55 or 60 years and older, one meal is okay, provided you're not in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. So one meal a day is very much possible. Well, rather than that, I would suggest that one should fast, eat 2 meals a day, but fast one day without eating. That is, you eat only one meal and then you skip dinner. So Ayurveda has said that that is better, because it gives an opportunity for the entire gut to revamp itself. So that will be better, because see, it may feel great if you eat only one meal because your mind is clear and your gut is moving through, but you may suffer from some deficiencies, because the times that we are talking, the soil quality has depleted. We don't have that type of a soil that brings in all the nutrients in one meal. So that may be one of the reasons why I hesitate to say one meal for longevity.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry we won't be taking any more questions. I hope we answered most of your questions, though. You can always email us if you'd like after this, and we can forward your questions to Vaidyaji. Before we leave, Vaidyaji, if any of our participants would like to get in touch with you, can we share your email address on the chat with everyone? Kotiji, can you please do that?
I'm just typing it in here, or
Kotiji will make it available to everyone. Also, before we sign out, just a quick announcement. Indica Yoga is going to be hosting a very special retreat in June, which will be led by Srimati Nritya Jagannathanji. She is the director of the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, and our last week's Yoga Insights, in fact, featured Nritya ji. And she spoke about exploring the Panchakosha model and its practical applications. That was more of an introduction, and we had a lot of people asking us about that. So this is from the 2nd to the 4th of June, and you can log on to our website, indicayoga.com, or email us on namaste@indicayoga.com. Thank you so much. Before we leave, any advice you'd like to share with us?
Food is the offering to a temple as body, and then where the divine resides.
That's a very beautiful line to leave with. And yes, just one more thing. Everyone's been asking us about whether this session is going to be recorded. It's definitely going to be recorded, and it will be available on the Indica Yoga website, our YouTube channel, and also social media and our social media channels. So you can always come back and have a look at the session again, share it with friends and family. And also Dr. Vaidyaji's email address is in the chat for anyone who'd like to reach out to him. It's j@myathreya.com. So that's the address you can get in touch with. We have one more comment, I think. Thank you. Anjanji, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I hope to see all of you again next week for another session of Ayush Talks, and also next Monday for another session of Yoga Insights. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Vaidyaji, for joining us this evening.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Namaste. Thank you.